Okay.
So the first question is, what does being professional mean to you, and how are ways to show professionalism?
Okay. I think there are two ways. The first, in terms of general appearance and demeanor, you know, you display professionality by but knowing the difference between formal and informal kinds of interactions. And so professional to me means assuming formal until another person invites informality. So that would be one thing. The other that's more specific is knowing something about what you're supposed to know about. So this is assuming that you've been trained in a certain area, you have a certain background, and what you want to be able to do is to demonstrate your knowledge, your experience, to be able to articulate that. So I think that's part of professionalism.
Okay. So just kind of not only knowing knowledge, but showing it to whoever you're trying to, for
Right.
example, like an employer or something like that. So,
Right.
okay.
So it can't just be here. You have to be able to articulate,
Okay.
you know, what it is that you know and what you understand about what you know.
Okay. So, what does being a professional mean to you, and how do you show professionalism?
I think being professional is being as prepared as possible for what you're going to be doing. So knowing how to dress, knowing the language that you should be utilizing, understanding what you're going to be doing fully. These are things that you need to be able to do in order to be professional.
And how do you get prepared? Like, how do you know how to dress? How do you know kind of what to do?
Well, you need to know your industry. So,
Okay.
for example, there are some industries where it's okay to be casual, where you can wear sneakers and you can use whatever language you like, and that's totally acceptable and professional as long as you know what you're doing. And there are other industries where you need to be dressed in a suit and use very professional language and be very detailed and organized in what you do. But what underneath is both of those extremes is that you have to really understand your industry and what is expected of you, and that you need to project that to look like you belong in that
Okay.
profession.
I think the first thing that comes to mind in terms of professional is just that people follow through on the behaviors that they promise. So if, you know, they call you, talk to you, interact with you, promise to do something, say that they'll do something at a certain time, that there's just, you know, it's something that you can sort of trust and kind of count on. So that probably is one of them. I mean, probably the other thing is that I think these are changing, so I don't know where this will head, but at least in the past, I mean, there was a certain formality to interactions. So rather than, hey Bob, on an email, that was Professor Hughes or whatever. Not that I don't think it can be more informal, and so that's changing, but I still think that there is a certain expectation about a certain amount of formality and communication, telephone, email, face-to-face kinds of things. So those are a couple of things at least. I mean, I think there's probably a lot more.
I think that professionalism means that you can take the perspective of the person that you're serving and that you can adjust the way that you are interacting with them in order to meet their needs and expectations.
Okay.
And so that if you are treating someone in a professional manner, that means that you are considering their point of view, you're considering their needs, you're considering their expectations, and that you're able to take all of that into consideration so that you can serve them in the best possible manner.
Okay, and then how do you like find out their expectations in order to meet them?
I think that would depend on the situation or depend on where you're working. But say, for example, in my profession, in speech pathology, you would get an idea of their expectations initially from, you know, your initial contact from a phone interview or a phone screening.
Okay.
And then you would also, I think, when you have your first contact with them, ask what their needs and what they're hoping to gain from your services first.
Okay.
Professionalism to me is a combination of things. It's in the way of employee professionalism. It's being on time. It's being neat. It's being organized. It's being having the ability to look ahead and when you're dealing with clients, it's some of those same things, but it's also being respectful, being courteous, and being able to communicate your thoughts well.
So I think the best way to demonstrate professionalism is to demonstrate your commitment and show responsibility, whether that's with a project or to a cause. So it's really more about being willing to sort of roll your sleeves up and jump in and take charge or ownership of something rather than the way that you look or something like that.
So more like kind of attitude than appearance?
Yeah, having really that willingness to grow and learn and be enthusiastic.
Okay.